Have you been feeling really hopeless? Like you're in this darkness you can't seem to get out of? Like you've lost all direction and you can't see a way forward? Like you're in this deep, deep depression? This could be that you're in the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is a deep spiritual depression where you're disconnected from yourself and nearly all of your reality. This is actually a death and rebirth, a death of the old you and a rebirth of the new you. This is a chance to go deep within and heal that trauma that's still there. It's a chance to clear out what no longer serves you and be born again into your best version. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach. I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse, and I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. The dark night of the soul is, the words are, they even just describe it perfectly. It's that darkness that we're afraid to see. And often the dark night of the soul can be triggered by any kind of external trauma or influences if something is going wrong in your life. And this is often happening because on our spiritual journey, on our healing journey, we need to, it's like this kind of wake-up call to what we need to heal, to what's still keeping us in that old reality. And it's very difficult when you're in it to see a way out. So there's that hopelessness, that direction, like there's no direction in your life. Like you've lost every sense of yourself and you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the part that's the scariest. When you don't know you're in a dark night of the soul, it's scary. Because you don't see this deep darkness and you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you actually stop believing there is one. That's how hopeless you actually get, and that's scary. And I've been through many dark nights of the soul over the last few years since I started awakening back in 2018, and obviously the first couple of them were hard because I didn't know I was in them, and they were scary. When you have absolutely no hope and everything goes to shit, you just don't know. You don't know if you'll ever come out of it. Now, I've had a few others after that where I was aware, and even when you're aware, like I'll describe it. There's another way of kind of describing it is, if you've ever had that psychological hangover from alcohol, beer fear, and especially if you've had excessive amounts of alcohol, it's like everything comes up. All your fears, all your emotions, all your traumas, the shame you felt when you were a teenager comes up. All of it comes in all at once. And even though, and this is the thing with beer fear, even though you know you've got beer fear, you still can't be optimistic enough to know that you'll go out of it. You're literally kind of, that's that fear, that hopelessness, that feeling of dread that everything in your life is over. And that, like, and you just, all that shame and pain comes up, and it's like there's no way out. And I've had beer fear last me for about 4 days at times, and it's only when you wake up on the Thursday or Friday morning you go, oh, thank God I'm alive, I'm okay. But this is what the dark night of the soul is like, only it's more longer periods of time depending on how much you need to heal. So I've had dark nights of the soul last weeks and months, but the one I just come out of, I didn't actually know I was in it, and that was even more fucked up because I've had so many where I was aware of them, and when you're aware of what you're in, they're still fucked up. They're still fucked, like. But yeah, when you're just I don't know how to describe it. And if any of you've gone through it, it's that real. It's like a deep, deep, deep spiritual depression. You're disconnected from everything, and thankfully I was still motivated to do certain things in my life. So it's like I was in this split personality kind of thing for the last few weeks. I was still productive, but yeah, after I was done doing the things, I was just exhausted, and I was constantly in this heaviness, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a real heaviness, and I get this kind of this heaviness right at the front of my forehead. It's like this dark cloud that's in front of me, and nothing I could do would lift me out of that mood. And I didn't even realize until I was out of it, and like everything was just meh, you know what I mean? Like everything, and I'm like, even watching comedies, I wasn't laughing like I normally laugh. I wasn't feeling the joy that I normally feel. And I was just like, I was just existing. And it got really bad over the last few weeks, and it got so bad. I lost all sense of self. I just had no drive. Separate to my, doing the videos or my coaching, I had no drive other in my personal life. In the evenings, I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. I needed to have a nap every day. Like, watching comedies, as I said, I just didn't feel any life in me. And I was just existing. And it got so bad. It was like, I was literally so hard on myself, angry with myself. And it got like this I only came out of it on Sunday. And it was only on Sunday when I was like, I was just I feel like I have no direction anymore. I feel like nothing's improving, nothing's changing. And like, everything was improving and changing. I'm progressing a lot every day. But I just got into this just complete darkness of going, oh, where's it all going? What's it all for? What's the point? And I was just like, oh, I was going through stuff with my twin flame as well. And I was like, I need to choose myself. I'm not choosing myself. I don't think I'm worthy enough to be chosen. And I just kind of flip of a switch on Sunday. I was like, none of that's true. None of what I've been feeling over the last few weeks is true. And I was just like, it was like everything I was feeling for the last couple of weeks or months had absolutely no depth to it. And I was just like, why did I think that? And then I realized, oh my God, I was in a dark night of the soul. And then I looked back over the last few weeks and I was like, oh my God, it was pure obvious. Absolutely obvious. I was in that tunnel of darkness with no light. And then the light disappeared and I lost hope that the light could come back. And that's a scary feeling. We've often had depression and anxiety. I personally have, and I know a lot of us have on this journey. And we know what it's like to have that low energy, that not wanting to get up in the morning, the lack of motivation, the lack of drive, the lack of hope. But I look back on my life and I realize that was mild compared to what a dark night of the soul is like. And it's just that deep despair. But what it really is a wake-up call. That period of darkness, and that's not funny. When we're in the dark night of the soul, and I realize I didn't even. This really boggles me because I've been in dark nights of the soul before. It's that bipolar energy. You're going in this roller coaster all the time. 1 minute you're fine, you're all like, hey, today's a good day, and then all of a sudden you're in this darkness again, and it just yo-yos up and down, up and down, up and down. And that to me is the sure sign I'm in a dark night of the soul. But I didn't even cop, like, you know what I mean? And I've been going through that bipolar energy for the last few weeks anyway, and I didn't understand it, and there's nothing worse than being in it and not understanding it. And I was just like, it's a chance. Like, I knew I was doing some deep healing, so that was fair enough. But I was pushing through without any explanation. And I think that's the worst part of it, is that none of it makes sense. You question, is the darkness ever going to end? Then you get a high day and then you're like, yay, I'm okay. And then you go straight back down, and like the lows are low. That's why I call it the bipolar effect, is because your highs are high and you think, oh my God, I'm okay. And then your low comes down and it's worse than the previous low. But this is all a chance to go within. This is a death and rebirth, the death of the old you. Now, often we need a wake-up call in our lives to cop us on, to redirect us. But we need to go into that period of darkness, that pause. It's a pause. It's a transition and a pause, in order to see what we're doing wrong, in order to see what we still need to heal, to face that trauma and to let go of what no longer serves us. And often we go through kind of an existential crisis when we're in dark night of the soul, because we're starting to realize what we've been doing isn't working. Who we were hasn't been who we're supposed to be. And when we're in the darkness, we get to see things for what they are. Because, okay, oftentimes we get a lot of depression and worthlessness that isn't real. It's kind of that test of resilience. But we get those clues as to what we do need to heal. We get that wake-up call as to what's in our life that's not serving us anymore. It is like that crumbling of the old in order to rebuild the new. The old foundation wasn't built on solid ground. Not healthy ground anyway. And it all has to come crashing down for us to rebuild it, effectively rebuild it the way it was always supposed to be. So use this time as a time to go within. Use this time to ask yourself those questions. What do I need to heal? Because this is the thing. If the longer we avoid our healing, the longer we're in denial that something needs to change, the longer we're going to go through that dark night of the soul. And that's the fact. You know, it could last, as I said, it could last days, weeks, months. I don't know how long. It depends on your own personal journey. But it is all, it's the most important thing is to ask yourself what you need to heal. Use the time wisely in order to purge what no longer serves you. And it's like this excavation. You're digging deep into your core to figure out what it is that you need to let go of. What's keeping you stuck? And that's why it feels like you're directionless. And like, you know, it's for those moments of darkness, you forget the progress you've made. You forget that you have, you know, you're constantly becoming the best version of yourself. And all you can think about is that despair. All you can think about is that darkness. All you can think about it is that hopelessness and that directionlessness. And it was only when I started, you know, to say that to myself, it was like, I feel so directionlessness. I feel like I don't have any direction. Jesus, English. You know what I mean? I felt like I had no direction. And I was like, you know, and I was like, I'm not choosing myself. And I was like, those words aren't real. And that happened to me on Sunday. And I was like, every day I choose myself. Every day I make some bit of effort, no matter how low I'm feeling. I'll make that effort to progress in my life, in my education, in my career. And I was like, so I am choosing myself every day. And I was like, so that means I think I'm worthy. And I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? You know what I mean? Because I was thinking the opposite of the truth for so long, but I believed it for so long. And I think the more, it's like any kind of depression or low energy. We can go into this spiral, and we can literally hone in on one thing, and then we can exaggerate that whole thing, even if it's not true. And it expands and expands and expands. So I kept saying, I wasn't worthy. I wasn't worth choosing. I'm not choosing myself. I have no direction in my life. You know, everything's worthless and hopeless, and all this kind of shit. And I'm like, and I believed it. I actually believed it because I was in that darkness. And on Sunday then I was just like, that doesn't make sense. None of that actually makes sense. And you know, I was literally, this is before I realised I was in a dark night of the soul, which is another one because I was bogged that I was in it because I didn't know. And I went through all of the stuff that I was after saying over and over and over and over and over again over the last few weeks. And I was like, none of that was real. None of that made sense. It was like that the morning that you wake up with no beer fear. It's like, oh, thank God, I'm actually not, fucked. It was just beer fear. And I was literally kind of going, how did I believe that? And this is the thing, we're supposed to go through that kind of energy as a test of faith. A test of faith in ourselves and a test of that resilience. Can we make it through? Can we do the work in order to move forward? Can we let go of the things that no longer serve us? Can we say goodbye to that past? And I think the more, that's really it. It's that transition into your next upgrade. This is it. Like, you come out of a dark night of the soul and you're literally, I'm Angela 2.0, you're you 2.0. It's literally like, who I was before the dark night was not as transformed or evolved as I am now. So you actually come out bigger and better. So it is worth it. So know this, that if you are feeling that hopelessness, if you're feeling like you're in this darkness where there is no light and you don't think you'll ever see a light again, this is temporary. And you will come out of it quicker the more you do that inner work, the more you ask yourself those questions. And as I said, I don't know how my switch flipped for me on Sunday. But, that's what, like, repeating those things in your head, repeating them out, even writing them down, saying that, like, for me, I felt unworthy. I felt like I wasn't choosing myself and I wasn't worth choosing. I felt that I was not going anywhere and my life was directionless and that I wasn't improving. And then I was just like, that makes absolutely no sense. That actually makes no sense. The opposite of all that is true. So why have I been feeling for the last few weeks like that was true? And it was just that wake-up call for me. And then it was just afterwards then, the heaviness lifted. Because that dark cloud, like literally I feel like this dense heaviness in my forehead. So there is like a dark cloud over me. And the minute I kind of just had the wake-up call, I was like, the cloud lifted. And the minute the cloud lifted, then I was like, hold on now, I was in a dark night of the soul. Oh my God. And that even made me feel better because it was like, none of what I really was going through was true. It was just that period of darkness so that I could actually heal and evolve. So take this as I said, a period of transition and a period of rebirth. It is hard when you're in it. Oh my God, it's so hard. The lows are so fucking low, and just mind yourself through it. If you're tired, rest. If you're upset, nourish yourself. Nurture yourself. If you're up, cry out those tears, scream out those tears. And I was doing a lot of that as well. Like, fucking, that's the way I get my emotions out, is screaming and crying. And just release it. But have that compassion for yourself. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not going backwards. Because an awful lot of the time we can feel like, oh my God, I'm going backwards. Where am I going? But when you come out of it, you're like, I've always been moving forward, and you move forward even when you're in the dark night. I have been anyway for this one, I think that's why it was so surprising for me. That's probably why I didn't know I was in it. Because normally when I'm in a dark night of the soul, previously I was in them. It felt like I was stuck, and I probably was moving forward and I didn't realize it. But I've been so productive over the last few weeks that's why I probably didn't acknowledge that I was in the dark night of the soul, because normally when I'm in that, I'm not productive because you're completely depressed all the time. Whereas I was like the switch was flipped for me. I had high energy. This bipolar again, like, the high energy 1 minute and then the lows the next minute. How did I not know? Oh my God. Like, I'm looking back over the last few weeks going, duh, I was in a dark night and I didn't even fucking realize. But so you come out, you will come out the other end and you'll come out stronger. You really will. Because even before the dark night, I still had those feelings of unworthiness. I was still constantly healing my heart, trying to figure out why I felt so worthless. And that was an energy that was stuck on me for a long time, no matter how much I tried to heal it. And then when I went into the dark night of the soul, it got deeper, that unworthiness wound. And I kept trying to fix it and just wondering where it was coming from and how to heal it. But then when I came out, I'm like, I was more sure that it was a lie, which is weird. Yeah, I'm realizing now that anything that I was feeling doubts about, even prior to this dark night of the soul, was bullshit. You know what I mean? So in that darkness, it's that catapult energy. You have to be pulled backwards for a moment so you can propel forwards. So I was literally, because I wasn't getting to the root of my unworthiness wound, I had to go into this darkness to realize how unrealistic that unworthiness wound was. So that's what it is. So if we're neglecting to heal, I wasn't neglecting to heal it. I was just spiraling into that doubt continuously. And I needed to go into that darkness to realize how, nonsensical it was, really. So this is what that period of darkness is for, to help you fully heal the things that have been keeping you a little bit stagnant for so long. I still have been moving forward, but because of that lack of worthiness, I kept kind of hitting roadblocks. I was moving forward, but I'd still be slowed back down. Moving forward, slowed back down, because I kept hitting a block of unworthiness. But going through that darkness again, I realised that fucking unworthiness is bullshit. And I have nothing to doubt myself about anymore. So that's what, I suppose that's the benefits of this dark night, is in order to actually propel you forward quicker, make you realise what was keeping you stuck in the first place, and help you to see what you really want for your life and rebirth you into your true self. Help you to let go of the stuff that you were, like, that's another thing. What were you not letting go of? What were you kind of going, you know I should walk away from this, but, maybe it's okay. I've known these people for a long time, or I can't walk away from family, or this or that. But yet you're like, stuck all the time. You're not moving forward because you're not letting go of the things you're supposed to let go of. So that's what this wake-up call is about, is realising that you can't hold on to people or things that are keeping you stuck. The only way to move forward is to let go of the things that aren't serving you anymore. And I know that's hard and I know that's sad, but you will only grow in a better environment. You will only grow surrounded by the right people. And if these people or these situations are keeping you stuck, it's time to realise that. So this is what this dark night was all about, to wake you up to the truth of what you need to let go of in order to propel yourself forward. And know that this is temporary. Be kind to yourself throughout. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is brighter than ever. And your best self, your version 2.0, is right there waiting for you. So trust that. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I'd love nothing more than to help you on your path.